But major breaking news tonight. 5 years after baby Leonna Wright disappeared, we now know 2 people have been charged. The solicitor announcing within the last 3 hours warrants had been filed by the Anderson County Sheriff's Office. This is an idea of what Leonna would look like now. This age progression was released last year. She would be 6 years old. She won't ever see another birthday because somebody killed her. Back in 2015, she vanished. She was only 1 year old. She vanished from right there on Cherry Street, Edgewood Square Apartments in Pendleton. It was a massive search that followed. And here we are 5 years later. That little girl has never been found. But we do know one suspect charged in connection with her death is locked up tonight. Another is in prison and will be charged at a later date.
Over the years, family and loved ones never lost sight of justice for baby Leonna, working with activists and neighbors to hold vigils and even put up billboards to raise awareness. On the 5th anniversary of her disappearance last month, Anderson County Sheriff Chad McBride announced their case concluded and it was being submitted to the solicitor's office. He was joined by the Pendleton mayor and Leonna's family to declare every June 6th Leonna Wright Day of Awareness. And more than a month later, the solicitor announced warrants were filed by the sheriff's office, and we just learned those charges were filed and an arrest was made.
Fox Carolina's Brookley Cromer live tonight with the very latest outside the sheriff's office in Brookley. I think a lot of people were stunned when we saw that announcement come out because, again, we've not heard any inklings that anybody had been charged in this until literally about 7 o'clock tonight.
That's right, Cody. And just a few minutes ago, literally 5 minutes ago, we just saw someone who they claim, deputies claim, is a suspect being walked out of the sheriff's office here. He got into a patrol car and they drove him off. Now, tonight, the sheriff's office confirming one suspect has been charged and arrested in connection to the death of baby Leonna, and a second suspect will be charged at a later date. This is the first time the sheriff's office has called this a death investigation. Up until this point, investigators have called this case a disappearance. And in a statement released tonight, 10th Circuit Solicitor David Wagner said, quote, "I'm aware that warrants have been obtained by the Anderson County Sheriff's Office at the discretion of Sheriff McBride in the matter of the tragic case of Leonna Wright. As a courtesy to the Sheriff's Office, I agreed to review the Leonna Wright case prior to any charging decision being made. Unfortunately, the Sheriff's Office has declined to return this courtesy by waiting until my review was complete prior to charging. I cannot speak to the appropriateness of these charges until the full review process is finalized to ensure the high standards of evidence that we require for prosecution have been met. Therefore, my office considers this matter to remain an ongoing open investigation, and for that reason, I will not be commenting further at this time." Now, earlier tonight, I talked to activist Tracy Fant about the break in the case.
I made a promise to her mother, her grandparents, to Leonna's siblings, to her aunts and uncles and cousins. I sat in the living room with them and I said, if I don't do anything else, I'm gonna get justice for Leonna Wright. Knowing that what Leonna went through was terrible, but knowing that justice for her is what it's all about.
The Sheriff's Office has previously named persons of interest in this case. Now, we're still working to get more details about this developing story and more details about the suspect who deputies say was walked out just a few moments ago. We will, of course, continue to bring you any developing updates both on air and in our Fox Carolina app. And we also know there will be a press conference here at the Sheriff's Office at 2 o'clock tomorrow. Live in Anderson County, Brookley Cromer, Fox Carolina, the 10 o'clock news.
And Brookley, thanks so much. Now, following the solicitor's announcement that warrants have been obtained, the sheriff's office sent out this. It's, quote, "We feel that the early release of the information regarding the case of baby Leonna Wright by the 10th Circuit Solicitor's Office is potentially reckless and unorthodox. We are in somewhat disbelief that these actions have occurred as it is not normal standard procedure." Now, the release of this information was done prematurely and can now potentially cause a flight risk of suspects in this case. It also creates an officer safety risk for those involved in trying to apprehend the suspects. Additionally, the 10th Circuit Solicitor's Office has had the case filed for review since January 2020. 2020. Anderson County Sheriff's detectives recently presented the facts of this case to a magistrate who found probable cause to issue warrants. The sheriff's office, again, holding that news conference at 2 p.m. to release more on the suspects who are being charged. As Brookley mentioned, we believe we just got our first glimpse at one of those suspects. As we get more information, we'll pass it along here through 11:30.